Hey guys, it's me. I hope you're doing well today. I just wanted to check in today and talk about personal will versus divine will in intuition development. I think it's a really interesting topic because I think to get into intuition development and into mysticism in general, I think you have to have you have to be a special kind of person with sort of a lot of drive. I think it's definitely a proactive thing to take up because it's not really a mainstream thing. And it also, to be successful, you have to be really driven. I think you have to dedicate yourself at least once a day to meditating, which takes a lot of discipline and I'm assuming a lot of personal will to explore the spirit realm. So why that's interesting to me is because actually at the end of the day, the strongest mystics and the people who really end up developing their intuition to the highest degrees are people who are somehow they figured out that the strongest position to take in meditation is to put their personal will on the back burner and let divine will take over. So a position of surrender to a higher power. You could call that God, you could call that spirit. Some people call it the absolute. I say God because that is more efficient for me and I like that term, but I don't want that to box anybody in, so I'll just put that out there. It's important to have a sense of personal will for other reasons. You want to have a sense of personal power. That's that solar plexus spot. I think it's the Manipura. You want to have a sense of personal power because you don't want to get bulldozed in life and overpowered by others, but you don't want to have so much. You don't want to have an imbalanced, sense of power either, and ignore your higher power, ignore the sovereignty of the soul. And so you want to acknowledge both. And I wanted to tell you how you can know you're making contact with personal will on the one hand, and how you know you're making contact with what you can expect to make contact with when you're, exploring the realm of divine will or God's will. So God's will for you will be that you know thyself, that adage, that you make contact with the self, both who you are in this life, all of your strengths, all of your weaknesses, your unique pain, your unique strengths, your gifts, your life purpose, and also your higher self, which is actually another way to say the soul, your soul lineage, all the lifetimes you've lived, what you're exploring as a soul, and also all the facets of the soul, which actually, if you go far enough up in the lineage of the soul, in your unique soul, at the highest level, you're one with God. And not all religions agree on that, but that is how I see it, and that's how many mystics see it. So that's how I'll be discussing it today. So God's will would have you know the self deeply. That will put you on the path of knowing what your life purpose is, knowing what your karma is that you need to resolve, the unfinished business in this life, knowing, kind of entering into a higher capacity to heal yourself and to love others and to serve others, a higher capacity to embody your unique soul frequency, which could be art, it could be your, your family life, it could be your passion for humanitarian projects. Whatever your unique soul frequency is, divine will have you deepen into that. When you make contact with the higher will for your life, God's will, you will be led directly to God, actually, which is a really interesting thing. So that's just divine ecstasy right there, very literally. And you'll be taught how to love and accept yourself more deeply, which is a big deal. you'll you'll make contact with the source of absolute truth, so you'll learn many things that you didn't know on the mundane level. So I could make a long list. Obviously, it's basically the path of the mystic. It's probably all your list of ambitions spiritually, all the things you want to achieve spiritually are on that list of what God wants for you. So, and actually, that's a really interesting thing. Your will and God's will kind of overlap in that space. So that's a happy thing to share. But there's also things in your personal will, under the umbrella of your personal will, that are more mundane and they don't pertain to God's will for you necessarily. This is stuff like things, and it's okay to have these, but what I want to say is that the intuition development shouldn't be about manifesting the sports cars and the I don't know, like the hottest boyfriend on the block. Like, it's not about that. It's a little bit cheap, and I see it a lot, and so I just want to like steer you away from that. But it's okay to have a sense of your personal, who you are and what you want in this life. It's okay to have things that you want to achieve. So this could be like your creative ambitions, your career ambitions, what you want in your relationship, the things you want in your meditation life, like higher truths and healing, that kind of thing, which are sort of your higher, desires. But also could relate to your root chakra, like your survival needs, like your housing, your need for housing, you want your need for safety, that kind of stuff, your creature comforts. So all of this is what you will for yourself on the personal level. We're talking about the first 3 chakras probably, right? So I think that's really interesting. It's interesting to know when you're dealing with personal will. And I see a lot of people get into the intuition space and they stay on those lower 3 chakra desires. Like, they use the intuition space to manifest like strategic outcomes in their work life or in their personal relationships. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's not what the mystic path is about. You can do that, and often God will lead you to do that, but you're kind of letting God and like your soul lead. You're not there doing the work. You're not like the powerful one necessarily. It's your soul that is leading you and guiding you. It's God that is kind of guiding you on the path and making things happen, both in the long-term trajectory of your life and also in every meditation session you're in. My guides have reminded me that it's them that are doing the work, not us. We're to kind of still ourselves and go into a receptive mode and surrender to what your guides want to teach you and where they want to guide you. So I think that's very interesting. So I guess what I want to say is the correct position to be in with your personal will is to acknowledge that you have it, acknowledge when you're in it, know who you are, know what you love, know what you think, have a strong sense of self and a strong sense of life purpose. And you can do that by journaling a lot, knowing what you feel that way. Make sure you have alone time. That's how you can kind of sense your unique energy. And take yourself out on dates. That's a good way to kind of sense who you are. Make sure you're like getting some solitude is what I'm trying to say. That way you can kind of sense who you are. And also, to get to life purpose, do what you like. If you don't have dialogue with your guides and they can't tell you, you're here to write a book, make sure that you're doing things that you like, because that'll steer you to your life purpose. For me, I love to draw and I love to write. And those naturally are what make me happy and full of joy, and they are naturally like my life purpose, I found out in meditation. So all these things are kind of working in tandem. That joy is a really good, it's almost like a compass. Follow that. You hear that. Joseph Campbell likes to say it, follow your bliss, and it sounds kind of trite, but that's how it works. So do things that you like. So know who you are, acknowledge your personal will, acknowledge what you want in this life, but know that you have a higher power and know that it is steering you and not the other way around. You're not there to lasso God and tell it what you want it to do for you, right? So just make sure that you're in the right relationship with that dynamic. Know that you're co-creating with your higher power, which is a beautiful thing. God wants you to join your will to God's will, not because if you don't, God will be mad and punish you, but because God wants you to be happy, and God wants you to fully embody your soul essence in this life. And the higher dimensions want you to heal and anchor as much of your soul in this life as possible. So we're all working together. It's a team effort. So just know you're not the only driver, though. And this will put you on a good track, I think. I hope that helps, and I'll be back. I think I want to talk more about sovereignty next time, so I'll be back soon with another video. You guys be well.